Hey, Lacrosse fans, welcome to Thunder Classics presented by A&W Langley. Tonight we go back to 2012 and the New Westminster Salmon Bellies visiting Langley Event Center in a rematch of the 2011 championship final. Tonight's guest will also be Langley's own Garrett Billings, who had a goal and 4 assists in that game. Garrett, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get going here. So what do you remember about that game? I know you had a goal and 4 assists, but what do you remember about the game specifically? Or
I
the
think
rivalry with New Westminster?
it was more the rivalry. They were the class of the league for about the 5 to 10 years prior to that, and they were a really tough team. And we always knew that we had to get through them to get where we wanted to be. And they had probably the biggest defense you've ever seen. I don't know if you remember the Man Cup they played against Brampton. Is just the biggest D that the league has ever seen, and they still had a lot of that core. So it was a big challenge for us, but obviously when we finally broke through, we knew that we had made it.
Look at the score sheet from that night. So you had 5 points. Lewis Ratcliffe, a goal and 3 assists. Shane Jackson, 2 goals, 4 points. Tor Reinhold and Ethan Iannucci, 2 goals apiece. What do you remember about your guys' team and that collection of talent that you had, especially up front?
Yeah, I love that team. It was so much fun. I think Lewis was just such a big piece for us because we needed that outside scoring ability to kind of draw defenses out. So when we picked him up, I knew we were going to be dangerous. I mean, Rob Buchan had already built such a strong team, such a strong back end with Brody and net and that defensive core we had. So I knew the pieces he was bringing in, and when they added Lewis, I knew we were going to be a real threat. So that whole year, Lewis and Nooch were just so dangerous.
All right, so let's back up a bit to yourself. So you're drafted second overall in 2008 out of the Burnaby Junior Lakers, where you won a pair of Minto Cups. How nice was it to get a chance to play at home? Because you're gone for junior, you're gone for 4 years at University of Virginia. Were you excited to come home and play?
Yeah, I was excited to come home and play. I wanted to play in my backyard. We didn't have a huge organization when I was growing up. There's only 100 kids in Langley Minor when I was there. We didn't have junior A, we didn't have a senior A team. So in the meantime, when I was playing junior, Okanagan had moved down to play for Langley. So I was pretty excited to be able to play at home. And I knew that the team was rebuilding, but I knew that we had so many draft picks that year. It was time to rebuild. And everybody kind of came at the same time, myself and Stefan LeBlanc. And it turned this into a pretty competitive program, and it was a lot of fun.
What kind of goals did you set for yourself? I know you won Rookie of the Year and you put up some monster numbers, but was that a goal, winning an award like that, or was it just sort of come in and get your feet wet at the senior A level?
I think the NLL draft was then, so I think I was motivated at that time. I really wanted to then move on to the NLL as well. So I'm like, well, I need to have a good senior A year, and anytime you're playing, you want to compete the best you can and help the team. So and it worked out really well. It was such a great group of people there before the team and the family that the Buckins had built with those guys. So it was a lot of fun that year.
So you play in 2009 and 2010, and then you left for a couple years. So you actually missed the 2011 championship team. Was it an easy decision to come back for 2012?
It was, yeah. I was living in Ontario the summer before and played for Six Nations, but when I saw that, I think it was when they picked up Lewis, I texted Rob and I thought, hey, maybe I can make this work and fly back and get games in and play, and we can make a run. And that's what ended up working out. So it was great.
So all throughout your lacrosse career, obviously you can score. Everyone can score, but you're known more for your passing. How did you develop that skill? And was that something you wanted to focus on specifically?
No, it's just kind of almost out of necessity, I guess, right? It's almost easier sometimes to find somebody else open than get yourself in front of the net. So it just happens. Actually, I found as I got farther in my career, it's harder to score than to set guys up. So no, it just kind of happened, and you try to create the opportunities wherever you can, and that happened to be, maybe easier for me as my career went on than actually get in front of that myself.
So what would you tell the young lacrosse fans? I know you have kids. I'm sure they're starting to play soon. Like, how do you practice passing? Because obviously you can practice your shot. All you need is a stick, a ball, in the net. But how do you practice, developing that sense of where your teammates are going to be for a backdoor cut and stuff like that?
Yeah, it does take a little bit of practice and working with your teammates, especially that backdoor. When you wind up for a shot and hit the guy on the backside, there's so many easy goals there. So I just practiced it over and over and over again. So it would look like everything I was doing until the very last second. I was shooting, and then I'd pass the ball to the guy on the backside. So I would always find the guy that could catch those and put them in the back of the net, and we'd practice it in practice and before games, and then we'd be on the same page. And it's a really easy way to get some goals.
Now, in addition to great numbers in the WLA, you've had great numbers in the NLL. First player in league history to have 3 consecutive 100-point seasons. Just what did that mean to you?
It was just it was more like the team and that we were on at the time. It was just a great group of guys. Like we ended up, we lost the championship to Washington when I was playing for Toronto, and then we beat them the next year. And we were just really strong, tight group. It was a lot of fun playing. So those were some of the most fun years I had playing lacrosse. So it was great. It was awesome.
Now, the middle part of the last decade, you ran into some injury problems. How tough was that to miss time, and how rewarding was it when you were able to come back at full health?
Yeah, it was good. There's a lot of things going on between, moving out to Vancouver and starting a new career. Then I have 2 kids, and then a couple surgeries, and it was tough to get really going and put the time in you need to be good. So before, I'd say before last year when I played in San Diego, it was the first time I could actually really put a full year into it. So it felt really good. And again, it was one of those years you just have these great groups. And we had a similar, amazing group in Buffalo this year, and unfortunately our season got canceled before anything really got going, before we really even able to gel. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it's you really gotta spend a lot of time taking care of yourself as the career goes on.
And then I guess just the last little bit here is, who would you say are some of your lacrosse influences, and how did you end up playing this game?
Well, I have 3 brothers, so we all played. I was number 3, so we all played hockey in the winter and lacrosse in the summer. So I don't even remember when I started playing. And they, having those older brothers allows you to compete against kids 3 and 6 years older than you. And yeah, they lighten up for you a little bit, but you still have to compete with those older brothers. And I just don't know if there's any way you can match that, being able to have those guys to play with as I was growing up. So they're probably the biggest influence on my career.
And now, what about some of the players? Did you follow any players, like to pick up tips and stuff like that? Some of the legends of the game?
Yeah, the WLA is such an amazing resource for young guys as they're growing up. Like I used to go watch Coquitlam Madnax play. They had Colin Doyle and Troy Cordingley, and their rivals. You'd have John Tavares coming into town for the Shamrocks, and it's just such amazing lacrosse players you could watch and pick up little things that they did. So we're so lucky to have the WLA in our backyard, and this amazing lacrosse that gets played 4 or 5 nights a week.
That's all I have for you, so thank you once again for joining us. Lacrosse fans, we are going back to 2012, June 27th, and the US Salmon Bellies versus the Langley Thunder, presented to you by A&W Langley. Enjoy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Garrett.